Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jerry, and today I got my week 4 review a little bit late. Wanted to get it out sooner, but you win some and you lose some. But either way, I'm going to go over every single game, letting you know what my biggest takeaways were, some of the biggest winners and losers. You see a bunch of those different titles. I'm just reviewing every game in the league week 4. So let's get into the first one. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, though. We're almost at 400 subscribers, and then we'll go to 500, then we'll go to 1,000. So let's just keep that shit up, and let's get right into it. Giants Cowboys is a long time ago now, but no run game from the Giants. Devin Singletary was basically non-existent. Malik Neighbors went off. Wan'Dale Robinson also went off, and honestly, they were able to keep the game close. I kind of thought that Daniel Jones would have to use his legs and Singletary would have to use his legs for them to stay in a game. But Daniel Jones, with his arm, was actually able to keep a close game against the Cowboys, which if you heard that last year, you'd think that somebody had a screw loose. But in this case, Giants, closer than expected, pretty good game. Now, granted, Cowboys lose Micah and Tank Lawrence to Marcus Lawrence. So therefore, they had no pass rush. And the offense basically just did enough. Not really a whole lot to elaborate on there. I think the Cowboys are going to need to be better this season. It seems like the offense is just Dak Prescott throws the ball to CeeDee Lamb and Jake Ferguson. And that's kind of the extent of the offense. You're not really seeing, there's not like a standout back between Rico Dowdle and Ezekiel Elliott. And then, on defense, losing the defensive line and Micah and DeMarcus Lawrence is such a huge loss. So they're playing the Steelers. It's going to be a tough one, but that's it for that one. I did get this one right, which is a very rare occasion for me in my predictions this week. Falcons Saints. I thought the Saints would do it. Saints were rolling, and we had not as great last week against the Eagles, but they looked like a good team in the first 2 games, and these last 2 games they haven't really looked the same. But Younghoe Koo is unbelievable. What a game-winning kick. Super exciting. Troy Anderson has a pick 6. Andy has 17 tackles, leads the league for the week. And I put the Falcons, they didn't look like they didn't play like they wanted to win. But they won because the running game wasn't going very well. I honestly didn't think Kirk had a really great game either. And they just, Younghoe Koo gets the field goals, and then, the defense, the pick 6 by Troy Anderson. I mean, pretty much the reason they won that game is unreal. But what happened to the Saints? Because Saints week 1 and 2, what was it? They put up like almost 90 points between those first 2 weeks. And even their defense looked to be kind of decent. Normally there's a lot of garbage points. That wasn't even really happening. And it shows that the early success wasn't really sustainable. And kind of unfortunately for them, moving back to what I think we might have thought the Saints were going to be this year is just an okay team. But on a positive note, I did like how the Saints used Taysom Hill in the red zone. That needs to happen every time they're in the red zone. I don't care if you have to pull Derek Carr out or what you have to do, but when you get into the red zone and you're the Saints, you put Taysom Hill on the field because his love and just eagerness to find the end zone is going to help him probably find the end zone or at least be a huge decoy to run anywhere else, preferably, with Alvin Kamara or maybe getting the ball to Olave, because in the red zone, you're probably not targeting Shaheed because Shaheed just catches the ball for 60 yards down the field. It seems like this year it's once a week. But yeah, the Saints, they're going to have to get a win, get their train rolling again, but the Falcons take them down 26-24. Next to Bears Rams, another one. I predicted the Bears to win this one, just didn't get it right against the spread there. But too many penalties, honestly, from both teams. Really bad from the Bears, pretty much all game on the offensive penalties. A few from Cole Kmet. There was six penalties from the Bears in the first 20 minutes. Majority of them being on the offensive line too. They're going to need to figure that out. Darnell Wright, huge problem in this game with his penalties. Whether it be, what do you name one? Holding, false start. I think he even had an illegal formation because he was lined up. I mean, he anywhere you could screw up, Darnell Wright screwed up, and people are already calling him a bust. I think it's early for that. I do think that he's going to have a hard time progressing if Chris Morgan stays the offensive line coach. But DeAndre Swift, he played like he was playing for his job. The Bears announced Roschon Johnson is going to get a more hefty load. And, well, DeAndre Swift just went off. And great day for him. Receiving the ball, running the ball, you name it. He was doing well, granted against a very young, naive Rams defensive line. Jared Verse, I guess, honestly, he kind of looked like a monster. Had a few different sacks called back because of some defensive holding and defensive pass interference, which is, I put the Rams had some bad penalties too. And then Jaquan Brisker gets an interception, should have been 2. Huge sack. Yeah, he got a huge sack on Matt Stafford there. And then I think he had like 8 tackles or something. Just a great day all over the field. There was a stat that he played like 10 plus snaps in the slot. I think he played 20 plus in the box and 20 plus deep. So it's just great all around. Brisker's showing to be a very good young talent in the secondary of the Bears. Probably great, too, learning from a guy in Kevin Byard that's there now, who's doing good, too, doing what he needs to do. But Jaquan Brisker, great day from him. And then Stafford is missing his weapons. I think the Rams probably win this game if they have Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. Just clearly some struggles there. You have a bad interception, obviously, to Jaquan Brisker. Should have been another one if it wasn't for a penalty that stopped that. You also have Caleb. He had a fumble, strip sack on a blindside hit. Stafford had the same thing. Offensive line really needs some help there too for Stafford and the Bears. Honestly, both teams kind of struggling there. And then either way, the defensive line of the Rams, they just need to get better. They were able to get some pressure on Caleb, but Caleb gets pressured less from what I've seen than most quarterbacks, because he will be crunched between 2 of his offensive linemen's backs and he'll just still throw the ball. There was one where he threw it like a hook shot. He did like a hook shot to DeAndre Swift. And so he clearly can do what he needs to do, even under pressure. And he's actually, I saw a stat, he was 8 for 9 with 147 completion percentage this past week when he was under pressure. So they got him under pressure, but weren't able to do it. I also think Caleb Williams just played simple football. He basically did what I think a lot of Bears fans had been asking for him to do, and that's learn the simple game, because we know that he can do these exciting downfield plays, and we know in college that often resulted in missing the short, easy checkdowns, and it was going to be a problem if he wasn't able to learn those easy checkdowns and learn that you can't always make this big throw because NFL players are bigger, faster, stronger, can cause issues. But either way, Bears take down the Rams 24-18 in a very close one. Next, we have the Packers-Vikings. I was convinced the Packers were going to win until we got a few minutes into the game. And then the Vikings were just running up the score, 3 touchdowns in 19 minutes. The team, I put an absolute weapon. The whole team is just a weapon. Sam Darnold is leading the MVP race, I think, right now, which is so stupid to think about. The Vikings go up 28. It was 28-0, halfway through the second quarter, and Packers managed to come back. They almost came back. It's just too many turnovers. Jordan Love turning the ball over. I think there was a fumble too. There was just 4. I know they led the week with 4 turnovers. So they gave the ball away too much, and it looked like they had a tough time playing from behind. Obviously, they were able to dig themselves out of the hole a little bit. And I guess maybe I'm not suggesting that they have a tough time playing from behind all the time. I think it's just in this case, it was tough for them, and that's why they lost. But interesting stat to have on the Green Bay Packers: Jordan Love 0-2, Malik Willis 2-0. It poses a question: do you move on from Jordan Love to Malik Willis? I don't think so. Let's move on to the next one. Colts Steelers. Colts are better with Flacco. That's it looked like it should. You see, just everything about the game. You're getting Pittman involved. You're getting, even Jonathan Taylor looked better. Obviously, he's dealing with an injury now. We'll see what Trey Sermon can do filling in. if he does. I think Jonathan Taylor still might play, but we'll see what happens there. But the offense just, it looked like it was supposed to. Anthony Richardson can throw that deep ball every once in a while, and he can move a little bit, but it looks like a normal NFL offense with Joe Flacco. There's some good throws on time, and I honestly think, I hate to say it, but it seems like Anthony Richardson needs to sit some more, and it puts him in a really tough situation with his injuries. Maybe he'll come back soon. Sounds like he could, but it's in a situation where you want him to sit and learn, but he's had a lot of time to sit already, and the first couple games of the year, he hadn't really looked very good. Obviously, he gets a win in the Bears game, but I don't really think it was, majorly because of him. He just did okay, in my opinion, and I think he needs a lot more work. But he also, the other problem of it is he just doesn't have a lot of reps in general. He's fairly close to Trey Lance as far as actual games played through like college and high school and whatever. They just didn't play much football. They just had that height, weight, speed, arm talent sort of deal where they got drafted high. And it's seeming to me like, I don't know what you do with Anthony Richardson, because I think he's going to, if they lose and he doesn't play well, which I think is very likely to happen, I think there's going to be a lot of people going, get him out of there. We need to fix this. And the team honestly looks good with Joe Flacco, in my opinion. So, I think it looks like Flacco's going to get another week. We'll see what happens there. But also the Colts, so many missed holding calls. I loved on Pat McAfee today for the brand, shout out. They just did like a highlight reel of TJ Watt getting held with JJ Watt there. And it was basically it was awful of just seeing it seemed like every play. It seemed like if you showed other people the amount of plays where he got held, you'd think for like a quarter of the plays he was getting held, and that's just the videos that you saw. So it was really bad, and that's again part of the reason the Colts win. The Steelers probably don't win that game if you don't miss all those holding calls. You get a few. Actually, TJ Watt ends the game with only 2 tackles, no sacks, no TFLs, no nothing, and he probably would have had like probably three minimum sacks if you watch those clips. But then the Steelers, Justin Fields did exactly what I asked him to do. Last week I said, everybody's talking about how great Justin Fields is, and I go, I don't think he's that great. And as a Bears fan, I hate to say that, Justin Fields didn't look great, because I'm still a fan. It was tough to lose Justin Fields. I had moved on, but it was just one of those likable players, and you want him to have success elsewhere. But when people are saying that he's doing great, I go, hold the phone. He hasn't really had to do much. They've ran the ball a lot, and the defense has only been letting up like 20 points a game. Let's see what happens when the defense actually lets up 20 points a game. Well, Fields has a phenomenal comeback game. And oddly enough, that's why I said it looks like a 2023 Bears game, because Fields actually plays really well in the game. He throws over 300 yards, he ran the ball efficiently when he needed to, and they end up losing, oddly enough, because of one of his issues on a fumble, which is super last year. Justin Fields, we knew he had a fumbling problem. On one that's his fault, where he's scrambling backwards, trying to avoid a sack. And then storybook ending, he's trying to get set, trying to get this 2-minute game-winning drive, and the center snaps the ball when he wasn't ready, or, it was too noisy. Justin Fields ends up taking the blame for it, but seemed to me like, I don't know, between the guard, the center, and the quarterback with a snap count, there was something missing there, and the ball bounces right off of his face mask, falls back, and he ends up in a 3rd and 22 and has no opportunity to get the game-winning drive, which is still something that I'm going to ask to see of him, which is really unfortunate. This would have been perfect scenario where Fields throws for 300 yards, a few touchdowns, and has a game-winning drive to win the game. And I go, this is literally what I asked for Justin Fields to do, to say that he was great, and he gets robbed of it again, just because of, numerous issues with the offense. So mainly that's that snap at the end. But Steelers get taken down, get their first loss to the Colts in week 4, 27-24. Jets Broncos. O-line needs to step it up for the Jets. Rodgers got hit 18 times. He got hit 18 quarterback hits. I I didn't look, but that's got to be I know it's a record for the week, but that's ridiculous. 10 offensive penalties. That's just offensive penalties too. Big problem there. Kind of stalled the team. I've been kind of frustrated with Aaron Rodgers hasn't really been getting the ball to Garrett Wilson. He gets it to him this time. Garrett Wilson fumbles. So a lot of issues on that Jets team. Talk about Davante Adams going there. I don't know if that does enough. The Jets at the beginning of the year thought they were contenders because you get Aaron Rodgers. Breece Hall looks amazing. Braylon Allen's looked great so far. And you have Garrett Wilson still. They get Allen Lazard, who's filled in nicely, but then you lose to the Broncos 9-10. So, but defense did enough. Look at the stat there for Bo Nix, 12 for 25, 60 yards. That's just absolutely pitiful. It's not like, how did they win the game? Similar to Caleb Williams, week 1, where he threw for 90 yards, and they end up getting the win. But Jaleel and Javonte carried, both averaging, I think, 5 yards a carry, and the Jets' run defense was basically non-existent, and it seemed like the Broncos just kind of got in his head with how many times they hit him. He seemed flustered. There's the meme of him with the towel over his entire body, they just got in his head, and the Broncos took down the Jets 10-9. Buccaneers, Eagles. Baker Ball's out, getting the ball to quite literally everybody. He spread the ball around. Who am I going to throw it to? I could throw it to Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, but Cade Otton's going to get a bunch of targets this week, and Trey Palmer is going to make some plays. So they threw it to quite literally anybody out there. D-line was getting at it. I don't know why I put running back identical stats on there. They Rashad, is that how you say it? Probably Rashad White and Bucky Irving both 10 carries for 49 yards. So that's an interesting thing there. A lot of people saying that the Buccaneers are not moving on, but like some of my friends and like I've seen it seems like, Bucky Irving's going to take over for Rashad White. Why do the Buccaneers do this? They had Leonard Fournette a couple years ago, and they move on from him when he was playoff Lenny, but it didn't necessarily do anything incredibly wrong except show up to camp fat one time, and which, whatever. And then Rashad White, seemingly great year last year, and he hasn't done anything horrible. He's a couple, not great games, but then we've already got Bucky Irving splitting snaps with it. I think Bucky Irving's been good so far. He's had these big runs, big play capability there. But I think splitting the carries is fine. I think it's a fine thing. And in this case, they have identical stats, but the D-line of the Buccaneers was getting at it. What happened to, Jason Kelce? That it seems like he's gone, and then Jalen Hurts, he got sacked like 6 or 7 times. He was getting killed out there. The Eagles' defense looked really silly. You've got Nolan Smith covering wide receivers. I don't know what that's all about. Nolan Smith, sure, he ran a 4.39 40, but that was to be your edge rusher. And so now they're putting, I don't know if it's because CJ and Darius Slay couldn't pretty much guard anybody. So they're like, you know what, fuck it. We'll put Nolan Smith out there, see if he can cover somebody. But Sirianni looks like he's on the chopping block because, it's funny how that coaching style, that like tough, like, I don't give a shit about what you think. We're going to run it how I run it. That whole sort of deal doesn't work very well when you're not winning. So a close game and a shitty offense last week from the Eagles against the Saints, and then you have more shitty offense this week. You got Saquon Barkley, for God's sakes, and you lose Jason Kelce, and obviously that's the issue. Obviously, I put in there Hurts was missing AJ Brown as well. That's definitely a factor into this game, but a good quarterback should be able to overcome having a receiver out, especially if Devontae Smith is who they say he is. But anyway, Buccaneers take down the Eagles 33-16. Panthers and the Bengals. This is another one where I talked about the Colts, how Joe Flacco, the whole offense looked better. The entire offense looked significantly better from the Panthers when Andy Dalton's out there, the Red Rifle. Chuba Hubbard does way better. He had like 10 for, or he had, I think he had 12 for 100 yards or something. Great game for, maybe it was 18 carries for 100 yards. And And, Deontay Johnson getting involved, getting targets like he should, getting the ball thrown to him on time. Xavier Legette was getting involved. Yeah, I was getting involved and I was able to catch the ball. I don't have a little man trying to. And then the Bengals, that big news for them. They finally get a win. Joe Burrow just looked okay. Pretty good game, getting the ball to Jamar Chase. And then Chase Brown, another Chase. Brown has his breakout game. Phenomenal game from Chase Brown. And this is another situation with the Bucky Irving, Rachaad White. Should Chase Brown be taking some snaps from Zach Moss? I think so. That's what he was drafted to do. And I don't think Zach Moss has really proved himself, in my opinion, as much as a guy like Rachaad White. So Zach Moss, not to knock Zach Moss, obviously filled in for Jonathan Taylor when he was injured and looked good. And he's looked good filling in, but he's kind of like a good fill-in backup, take away carries from your, just keep the legs healthy in the backfield sort of running back, not a prime, great big playback. So, but the Bengals take down the Panthers. I thought Panthers were going to do it again, especially how tough those Bengals, how bad they looked early on. Last thing, 0 sacks both ways, no pass rush, a little bit of pass rush from the Bengals there. But the Panthers really need to figure that out. Their defense, they finally shown with Bryce Young being out, Andy Dalton being in, a competent quarterback in, that the offense can operate. Now they're going to have to work on their defense because they're not going to win many more games if you're allowing 34 points. So Bengals win 34-24. Texans, Jaguars. This one way too close for comfort. I don't think anybody is ever going to be able to stop CJ Stroud and Nico Collins. Last week, who had the most receiving yards? Nico Collins. This week, who had the most receiving yards? Oh yeah, Nico Collins again. So we've got a fly buzzing around, really pissing me off. Go away. And so got to clean up the penalties though. 12 penalties for 93 yards on Houston there. Could have been a big reason as to why they win this game. But honestly, Trevor Lawrence kind of looks like he sucks. I've never seen somebody get this much worse in their early on in their career. Maybe Ezekiel Elliott would probably be one where he was really good first year. I guess not really comparable. T-Law was not good first year, better second year, then getting worse and worse. Whereas it's just not good. Peterson, everybody's talking about him on the chopping block because Jaguars can't win a game. I think, what are they? They're the only completely defeated team. Yeah, it was Bengals, Titans, Jaguars, and the other two teams got to win. So the only completely losing team. And Doug Peterson told everybody, he said, no, I haven't lost the locker room. This is, we're all doing just fine, which it can't possibly be true because Trevor Lawrence threw for 169 yards and they got close with the Texans, but you need to get a win, especially in a game like this where Texans had all the penalties. They gave you all the opportunities. All you had to do was guard Nico Collins. The running backs out, Joe Mixon. Cam Akers did okay. I think, he just did fine. It wasn't anything exceptional. He just filled in, backup running back. You should have won this game. You should have won the game. Jaguars lose, though, 20-24. Next, we have Cardinals Commanders, which, holy shit. Jaden Daniels is so good. The Commanders had 216 yards on the ground. Brian Robinson and, oh gosh, I didn't put notes. What's his name? We'll just call him McLemmons because I feel like it was something like that. McLemmons is absolutely not what it was. So I apologize to whatever your real name is. But McLemmons is fun to say. So we'll go with that. But whoever that guy is and Brian Robinson, great game from them. Running the ball all over the field. Cardinals had fumbleitis of everybody. I think like 6 people fumbled. They didn't lose them all, of course, but they just would drop the ball all the time. Michael Wilson, Kyler Murray. I think James Conner might have had one, but the defense looked awful. And Jaden Daniels was just able to march down the field. Cliff Kingsbury and Jaden Daniels seems like a match made in heaven, and it's perfect. And it's upsetting because what a great thing for the Commanders. Obviously, as a Bears fan, tough to see early on, like the development of Caleb. We'll see what happens, but boy, that's an exciting thing for the Commanders fans. I think they deserve it, especially with the name change, all that bullshit. You have Jaden Daniels. I think Dan Quinn, great head coach, bringing over the values and the and a lot of the players from the Cowboys, and honestly having a good defense so far. So great game for the Commanders. Another great game where they win 42-14, looking like a team in this league this year. Next, we have the 49ers and the Patriots. Won't waste too much time on this one. Are the 49ers back? I'm going to tell you why they're not. So the 49ers did not play well enough against the Patriots. I know you would, Jerry. They put up 30 points. Well, they had to kick 4 field goals to do so, which field goal is kind of a topic of the league right now, where some teams are winning games with just field goals, like the team we just talked about, the Commanders, win a game 21-18, only kicking field goals. So it's important. But you had Ayuk and Debo back, and you used Jawan Jennings more still. You don't have CMC back, but you have a great game from Jordan Mason, 24 carries, 120 whatever yards. Great game from him. You had everybody, like, plenty of fumbles from the Patriots. Jacoby fumbled like 3 times. Ramondre Stevenson has fumbled in every game this year. And somehow, I don't know, 30-13, I lost. I thought they would cover and they didn't. They lose by 17. Obviously, it's a big difference. But I think if you look at what happened in this game with how horrible Jacoby Brissett played and the 49ers seemingly being pretty healthy in this game. Obviously, CMC out, Trent Williams out. But you should have won. It's wrong for me to say you should have won by more. But I think it was bad. I think it was a bad performance by the 49ers. And I think they can do better, but they still kind of looked like those teams that they were the last 2 weeks, where they're playing against good teams and losing just because they can't put it all together. But yeah, 49ers got after the Patriots and really kind of screwed Jacoby Brissett. And so you have to ask the question, is it time for Drake May? I don't think so. I think Drake May needs to sit. I don't think they have any pieces around him. I honestly think they would benefit from tanking this year and being able to get a top prospect next year. In the lines of, everybody's talking about the rookies, but like, I really like Emeka Ibuka from Ohio State. Just one of the top receiver prospects, just to get somebody over there. I think Ramondre's okay. I think the fumbling thing is an issue, but I think that could be dealt with, whereas I just think they need help at receiver. Obviously they get Jalen Polk, but I don't know. Maybe he'll do better too once Drake May comes in, if that is this year. But I do think the Patriots need to wait on Drake May, and it seems like they're going to wait on winning 2, losing 30-13. Next, we have the Raiders-Browns, where not much to talk about because the main topic was on a guy who didn't even play. Devontae Adams was not even in the game, hamstring injury, he's out, and they end up that's the talk of the town because he might get traded. That's a topic for another video. But basically, Gardner Minshew, for me, has to be better. Zamir White has to be better. It seems like he's questionable now, so we don't even know if he's going to play again. It seems like Alexander Mattison I think he'll probably start getting more of the carries because they've been trying Zamir White and looked good last year, but for whatever reason, not doing great this year. But then the Browns. Browns stink. Deshaun Watson stinks. And I think they really need Nick Chubb back. I think that would help a lot. But I have no idea what they're going to do. They just seem like one of the worst teams in the NFL. And I don't see how they can win a game because the Raiders played horrible football and ended up getting a win 20-16 against them. Chargers, Chiefs. Well, the run game for the Chargers. That's been the name of the game. The Chargers run the ball and they run it down your throat and they will win the game, is what it seemed like. And then now Chiefs shut it down. J.K. Dobbins can't run. Gus Edwards can't run. Dobbins injured now, I think, right? He's out. And the Chiefs are able to. It wasn't even the situation where I thought it's going to be a close game. There's going to be some bad calls for the Chiefs. It wasn't really as much that. Chargers were in the game, but it was 10-17. Not a great offensive game. Mahomes throws an interception and then seemingly tears Rashee Rice's ACL. Now they're saying it might not be, which is good news for him. But with Rashee Rice coming out, that means Travis Kelce's back, and he has a great game. Finally has a good game for him with not many other people to throw to. Obviously, I think Sky Moore has probably been underwhelming, from being a second round pick 2 years ago, or oh gosh, was it 3 years ago? Few years ago. And then you have Xavier Worthy, who makes some big, exciting plays, specifically in this one, that deep pass. It's going to be exciting when it happens. But I think the highlight of this game, if I'm being honest, was the punt god, Matt Araiza. Nobody's talking about it. 4 punts, 50 yards on average, a punt, all landing within the 20. That's a near perfect game. 50 yards a punt is a great average to begin with. All of them inside the 20, another phenomenal stat. You want to get them all in there if you can. And that flips the field, makes it very difficult. Chargers have to drive all the way down the field. And therefore, Chargers only get 10 points. So I think player of the game in this game would go to Matt Araiza. Can't go to Patrick Mahomes. He injured his own star player. I couldn't single out a person on the defense I would give it to. You could try to give it to Kelce on offense, but I think ultimately the reason they won was Matt Araiza punting the ball well. But the Chiefs end up getting the dub, 17-10. Ravens Bills, this is another quick one. King Henry, that's all I have to say. 24 carries, 199 yards, 2 total touchdowns. What a great game. Also, fun thing there, I thought Lamar Jackson dumping the ball off a lot, because I'm thinking about, Caleb Williams was dumping it off a lot, 7 times, I think, to DeAndre Swift in this last game. Well, Lamar Jackson, he threw it to the running backs 9 times. He threw 6 to Justice Hill and 3 to Derrick Henry. And he only had, it was 13 completions total. So he had 4 completions to anybody else in the game, 9 to the running back, 13 total. So an interesting game where the Ravens are able to put up 35 points on the Bills, seemingly just running the ball with Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson throwing to his running backs, which is an incredible feat. But hey, they did it. And I think this is why the Bills is going to be the Bills. It seems like every year the Bills have a stint during the regular season where everybody goes, oh, the Bills going to be able to do it? What's going to happen with the Bills? And this is the time of the year, I think. So they could have a strand. This fly is really going to, I don't know if I got him. Bills, they're going to have a time during the year. This could be the beginning of it. So we'll see, where they have a stint where they're going to lose like 3 or 4 games. I think it works out better for the Bills if it happens at the end, because they always come back. If they have a down stint, they always come back, and they'll come back and they'll kick ass. If they go down later in the season, closer to the playoffs, they might have this up stint. That's how they'd probably win a Super Bowl, seemingly, based on what we've seen in the past. But yeah, this is just a typical, Bills look amazing so far this year. I had them number 1 in my power rankings, and then they get smoked by the Ravens, who, had lost some really bad games this year. So Ravens take down the Bills 35-10. Dolphins, Titans. Boy, Levis versus Rudolph, I think, is an interesting question. I think Mason Rudolph looked pretty good. I love watching Will Levis play. He's hilarious. He's very passionate about the game, plays with his heart and his shoulder, evidently. And when he crashes into everybody or dives and injures himself, and that's why Mason Rudolph played this game. But I think this game, to me, showed me that you need to get Tony Pollard the ball. He's done better when they've gotten the ball. Now, granted, this is their first win, but I think they looked a lot better in week 1 and 2 when, he was actually getting the ball. He's been a good running back so far this year. Everybody goes, he was Ezekiel Elliott's feature back. He was the little third down receiving back. I don't think so. I think he's doing a great job, and I think the Tony Pollard, Tajay Spears is pairing up a little bit better than I thought. I thought they were going to be a little too similar. Doing pretty well, but they're going to need it to be top-notch every week with the quarterbacks that they have in. And it's just a tough time for the Dolphins. There's really not much else you can say about it. You lose Tua, you got Snoop Huntley, who to me is always going to be Tyler Huntley. I don't think you should be allowed to go to a Pro Bowl one year and then change your name to Snoop, but that's okay. Snoop Huntley comes in, and it's just probably too early. We saw, what was it, 2 years ago, Baker Mayfield comes in for the Rams when he just joined the team like a couple days before, and he's able to just sling it and get a win for the Rams. Snoop Huntley, clearly not that guy, because he he looked like a college quarterback in this game. It really wasn't good. I also think the offense was very dumbed down. It seemed like Mike McDaniels kind of lost hope for anything exciting or creative that he wanted to run, because it was basically just horizontal, toss it to the left or the right of you, screen passes, essentially every play. You have A-Chain, what happened to him? He had, I think it was 10 carries for 4 yards or something. So they did try to run the ball a lot, which I think is the right move in this game. Jalen Wright had, I think, 9 carries or something too. They did run the ball a decent amount, but they just weren't able to gain anything from it, and which was honestly kind of surprising to me. I think the Titans knew that the offense was going to be more dumbed down, and when you don't have that deep ball threat like you've had with Tua, I think it allows the defense to close in and shut down all these quick short yardage plays that they were doing, and shut it down kind of similarly to how they shut down Caleb Williams week 1, with knowing that it was probably going to be a more simple, shortened, dumbed down offense, and they capitalized on it, and they do the same thing in this one, allowing the least amount of yards in a game for the second time this year. So Titans get a big win in their first win, 31-12. But I'm going to need to see more from the Titans to think anything highly of them, because it was against a pretty battered, Dolphins team. So 31-12, Titans. And then the last game of the week, I need to speak about David Montgomery's run. I miss David Montgomery very much as a Bears fan. He was one of my favorite running backs, and that catch and run that he had for 40 yards was like Sweetness-esque. I'll say it. Walter Payton, the way he catches the ball, turns his head, boom, puts him on the ground, sit down, he right to his back, and trucks him over. Then he keeps running. He puts his hand down to stay up, keep his balance, keeps running, sheds off like 2 more tacklers, does a stutter step, and then stiff arms a guy as he's going out of bounds. It was just, I wish he was on the Bears. I wish he was back on the Bears, but that's okay. Miss you, Monty. But yeah, Jared Goff, 18 for 18. Let's talk about the real star of the show here. 18 for 18 and a receiving touchdown. What a stat line for Jared Goff. Lions had 12 penalties, though, for 101 yards. You got to fix that. That was on defense, and part of the reason that the Lions let up 516 yards in this game. But honestly, the Seahawks look good. Kenneth Walker is an absolute animal. Obviously, the viral play of him flipping over, was it Jack Campbell, twice in one play was incredible. And I think the Seahawks defensive line honestly hurt them the most, and what has allowed the Lions to score 42 points, because they have the weapons and they honestly have a great offensive line. So if you can't put pressure on Goff and force him to turn the ball over, or at least throw the ball into the dirt one time, you're going to get smoked. And that's what they did this game. He just out there flexing. He gets a receiving touchdown from Amon-Ra. So great game for the Lions. Great game for the Seahawks. Just need a couple tweaks, and I honestly thought they did better than a lot of people were saying, as they still put up 29. They've put up 500 yards. They just weren't able to get in the end zone. We had a missed field goal too in there. It doesn't help the momentum, but good game from both. Lions win, though, 42-29. And then we got the leaders. We got Geno Smith taking down the passing category altogether, except for Jared Goff, 18 for 18. He should have the perfectest of perfect passer rating, because 18 for 18, 200 plus, 2 touchdowns, a receiving touchdown, make it 159 for him. Derrick Henry, 24 for 199. We talked about it. Neighbors and Nico, Malik Neighbors, great week from him too. 12 receptions for them both. Nico gets 151 yards. Troy Anderson with the 17 tackles. Not a lot of sacks and TFLs. Last week we had Aiden Hutchinson with 4.5 sacks and 4 TFLs. Only 2 and 2 for Levante David, inside linebacker, which good utilization of him there, especially attacking that center, Cam Jurgens, who is not Jason Kelsey, and showing that he's not bad player, but just not as good. Most offensive yards, Seahawks, 516, least yards allowed, Titans with 184, and then the Vikings took the ball away 4 times in their very close win over the Packers. NFL fun facts, Jared Goff, first quarterback in NFL history, finished the game with perfect completion percentage, over 15 attempts. We just talked about that big time. And then Brock Purdy has the highest career passer rating over first 25 starts in NFL history. That's 112 112.6, which is over Mahomes at 112.5. I think Brock Purdy doesn't get enough credit. Everybody says, oh, he's got other people surrounding him. Well, Patrick Mahomes has had Tyreek Hill. He's had, they've gotten other guys hoping to be good, haven't really panned out. You got Juju Smith-Schuster. They get Hollywood Brown. Obviously, he's been injured too. They've drafted Xavier Worthy. They get Pacheco, Travis Kelce. So it's not like they're not helping. They've also built the defense and constructed a great defense. And, oh, yeah, their head coach is Andy Reid. I think that helps. So I think we need to cool it with, the Brock Purdy's overrated talk. I think most people are done with that now. But, I think it was a great week. Let me know what you think down below. That's going to be it for the video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.